So I just finished reading Endurance just a couple days ago. It's Shackleton's incredible Voyage, and this one's by Alfred Lansing. And I thought I would do a review just in case you were one of those people out there, the few people that haven't read this book. It was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. And so, yeah, I just want to go through it, talk about it, and maybe convince you to put it on your TBR to read it soon, because it's a fabulous book. And so before I get into the plot or anything like that, or the story of the expedition that Shackleton took, a couple of things that I'd probably note for you. First of all, this was published way back in 1959 originally. This is a more modern edition, obviously, but I bring that up for two basic reasons. One is that some people might be put off by the fact that 1959 is a while ago, and sometimes that 50s style writing can be a bit stuffy. But this is like this is really written. Like it could have been written yesterday. It's a very well written, modern style writing, fast paced, easy to read. So it's great in that sense. I think that the sort of exploration and adventure genre kind of got more narrative before history's gotten narrative. So in that sense, it's just fantastic. The other thing that I was going to mention about the 1959 original date is because the book was written quite a while ago, and the expedition itself was 1914 to 1917. Alfred Lansing was actually able to interview, I think, most of them, if not all of the members of the expedition. Spoiler alert, they all survived, but he was able to interview them. So, and he had also access to their journals. So really in this book, you actually have a front row seat to the entire expedition, from the warmth of your own home, from the comfort of your own bed, or in front of that fireplace wherever you read. You get a super view into this one. It's crazy actually the way it is, and the fact that Lansing was able to talk to them all and get all their perspectives. It creates a full 100 or 360 degree book. So that's awesome. The other thing that I was going to mention before I got into this book is that Shackleton's kind of like the first social media influencer, minus the social media, but he had plans as part of the expedition to really sort of go full media on this, galleries, speaking tours, books, like all these multimedia type initiatives that he had planned to generate income after the expedition got back, because he had some bills to pay. I don't know if he ever paid them actually, but it was an expensive expedition, and so because of that, because he was an influencer in a way, doing a crazy thing, by the way, and a lot of modern influencers do the same thing, he took a really good photographer with him. And so inside the book, there are a lot of excellent plates with pictures that are just fantastic. Like everything you're reading about was also documented by the photographer for the most part. So it's super cool that you see right the ship as it's trapped in ice. You see the dog igloos that they created for their sled dogs. Like you see it all, and it's awesome that way. So also a really cool aspect of the book that I thought I'd bring up before I got into the actual story. So the book itself basically revolves around the expedition, of course, which left London in 1914, sort of at the same time, right at the same time as World War I broke out, almost to the day, basically. So the first part of the book is not actually about the expedition. It's about the logistical side of the expedition, the financial side of the expedition, locating the ship, getting the backing, the financial backing, permission of the British government and the monarchy, so to speak, the ship, how it was built and all that stuff. So that's maybe not as high-paced as the book gets, but I thought that was actually pretty interesting, because you really get a kind of look into how one of these expeditions was put together. And so that was pretty interesting. It was not that easy. Tough to get, surprisingly enough, tough to get investors to invest in a extremely risky proposition. And this was an extremely risky proposition, which kind of gets me into the idea of the book. So at the time in 1914, like the 1910s, early part of the 20th century, a lot of the big sort of the bucket list, sort of explorer bucket list had been taken. You know, people had been to the South Pole on foot, and you know, all these Scandinavian explorers and American and British, and they were doing all these cool things. And Shackleton kind of felt like he had been outdone and, you know, beat to the punch on a lot of things. So what his idea was to do was to cross Antarctica, the Antarctic continent, on foot. And so that involved taking a ship in on one side and then, you know, disembarking there, crossing with a group of men and sled dogs to the other side of the continent, where I can't remember totally now, but there was another ship that was supposed to meet them, like bring supplies, meet them and all that stuff. And like that probably sounds pretty intense, but then when you go back to the fact that this is 1910s, early 20th century technology, no satellite phones, no GPS, using basically indigenous technology, which was pretty good for staying warm, like reindeer boots and all those kind of things. And so they would have been, had they got onto the land, totally on their own and had to cross Antarctica, which is quite big, like in the worst kind of weather imaginable, really. So super intense, super crazy, I think. So that was the plan. Anyway, they finally get down there. Expedition gets off. They get down to Antarctica. They cross over to a whaling station. I think it was St. George Island. But then they go into the Weddell Sea, which is the sea just sort of north of the part of Antarctic landmass where they had planned to start their journey. But before they even get to land, they get trapped in the ice. And the Weddell Sea is kind of surrounded on three sides by land. And so it's kind of like a big bowl. And so because of that, the ice kind of just sits in there and slowly turns with the currents and the winds and the gales and stuff. And it kind of like forces it together and pulls it apart and forces it together. It's like always shifting and doing all kinds of things that ice does that you don't think about when you're sitting in the comfort of your own home. So they were trapped, and the ice essentially spun them up. And so sometimes the ice would sort of crack up and they'd think they maybe have a shot at getting out of the ice. But it took a long time. And eventually it got to the point where the ice was breaking up. They were starting to get back further north, up closer, further away from the Antarctic landmass. And so the ice was breaking up. They had already lost the boat. It had been crushed in the ice and sunk, the Endurance. So they were on the ice floe in tents. They had their lifeboats with them because they were going to use those to sort of ferry across to the closest land once they got sort of water within range. And so that's basically what happened. I mean, boats crushed, sank on the ice. And then eventually, as they get close to the northern part and it's warmer and the ice is breaking up, they get a chance to escape in the boats that they have to an island called Elephant Island. And even that, getting there was super dramatic, super hardcore. They got there and it was hard to land. Like the weather and the gale force winds and the glaciers and the sheer cliffs and reefs, just like it never ever nothing was easy and everything was crazy. And when they got there, they realized they couldn't stay. So one of the boats, the best boat they had, Shackleton took that on an expedition, across back to the whaling station, to that island that the whaling station was on, and they had to cross the Drake Passage in a 20-foot boat, which is like, if you've heard of the Drake Passage, it just eats ships up. If you've read The Wager, you'll definitely have heard of the Drake Passage, because they had to cross through there, and those big HM, like those big ships of the line were crushed by those seas. So they crossed in this tiny boat across the Drake Passage. Then they could only get in on the shore on the opposite side of the whaling station. So Shackleton and another guy with like no real rope, like they had some ropes from the ship, but no real mountaineering technology. They had to climb up over the glacier in the mountains and then down the other side. And then they had to sort of get another boat to try to get back to Elephant Island and get through the ice pack to save and rescue their own men. And they actually do it, and it's basically the craziest thing ever. And the interesting thing is, like, and I hope there's no spoiler alerts there. It's nonfiction, so I feel like I don't have to say no spoiler alert. But they all live, and if you've ever read books that are about shipwrecks or failed expeditions, like The Wager, as I mentioned, The Wager got the people and the captain and the mutiny, maybe because it was a military expedition, it got all Lord of the Flies. But the interesting thing about Shackleton's expedition, and perhaps a statement about his leadership capabilities and his willingness to not leave anyone behind, they really stayed together as a cohesive team. They didn't even seem to get mad at each other, like the under 30 guys trapped together in like the tiniest ship and the tents for a while, and in these little boats for like 3 years. And they seem to have mostly got along. They helped each other out. They played cards. They told stories. They sang songs. They did everything. And it's actually remarkable. And it was such a good book. Such a great read. Highly recommend that you pick up Endurance. If it's sitting on your shelf unread, how dare you? If you don't have it, it's been around a long time, so you should be able to get a used copy for sure. It's a good book. I highly recommend it. Hope you got something out of this one. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.